hopefully you can edit out all the stuff that was boring.
No, it's all good. I heard this from someone else. The phrase he used was, the only thing that hits the floor is the editor's. The only thing that hits the editing room floor is my shoes.
Before we start today's show, please visit the sponsors, affiliates, and friends of the Stagecoach.
The Square Reviews, brutally honest product and travel reviews for red-blooded Americans by red-blooded Americans. Visit them at thesquarereviews.com.
TheGunFood.com has an extensive network of partners to connect you with your guns, ammunition, and firearm training. The Gun Food only sells ammo that they trust. Use RSWC as a discount code and save 5.56% on your order at thegunfood.com. PowerTac flashlights have combined premium craftsmanship, American ingenuity, and cutting-edge technology, creating a highly dependable tool that you can trust your life with. Go to powertac.com/RSWC and save 15% on your order. That's powertac.com/RSWC. Sabre Pepper Spray has been making grown men cry since 1975. Find the link in the show description and help get the Stagecoach across America with every Sabre Red purchase you make.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the Stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in and watching the show. If you are new to the YouTube and you're a new watcher, please make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the notification button. This is good for all things YouTube. I have noticed with the analytics that there are more people that are watching the show than have subscribed to the show. So if you're new, please make sure you subscribe. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, please share it with your friends, because this is how we get the Stagecoach across America. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today we are in the Blue Ridge Mountain area of Virginia, and I have with me Navy SEAL, U.S. Navy SEAL? Is it a former SEAL?
No, retired.
Retired Navy SEAL, Don Mann. Don, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's a pleasure, Charlie. It's nice to meet you, and I look forward to this ride.
This is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be good. First thing I want to do is I want to thank Rich Yumul from Gun Owners Radio, because Rich contacted me and he's like, hey, Don Mann wants to do some shows. Would you like to have him on? And I'm like, oh my God, absolutely. So thanks to Rich. You have so many things going on that it's hard to keep up.
Well, you know, so Charlie, it doesn't feel like I have a lot going on. It feels like I got out of high school, I needed something to do, I wanted to serve our country, and I wanted to work out. So luckily for me, I came across the SEAL program,
right?
And I was very, very fortunate that I found the SEAL program, because it is exactly what I needed. If I hadn't found it, I think I probably would have ended up nowhere. And the SEALs were everything and more than ever I could have wished for a lifestyle and for a career. So I went to BUD/S, and I trained really, really hard for BUD/S. I trained 4 years for BUD/S. I went there, and I felt ready. And there were some days that were hard, but I have to say this. I could like to add one thing on that. Every day was hard in BUD/S, which is called most difficult military training in the world. Mm-hmm. But every day I'd get back to my rack, get ready to go to sleep, and I'd think, today was hard, but it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be, because I did the visualization. I visualized what the days were going to be like. I'd visualize how those long, cold swims would be, how Hell Week would be without sleeping for a week. I visualized everything I could possibly visualize, and that was back before, you really knew what was going on in training with all the things we have now to see what training's about. Mm-hmm. But back then, you had to imagine it, and then in my mind, I made it so much worse than it really was. So every day was easier than I thought it would be. So that helped.
That does. The whole visualization thing is, it really is important for getting through difficult times. You know?
Sure is, because your mind is so powerful, and your mindset, what we call in the SEAL teams combat mindset, you can make it stronger every day of your life. You know, your body's going to break down eventually, but your mind, you can make it stronger each and every day of your life. And you can make it so powerful, you go into BUDS or Marine Corps training or whatever, selection for Delta Force or Special Forces, or you're going out for football, you can make something really, really, really challenging, put it in your mind and make it more challenging in your mind, so when you go to do the event or the course, it really seems not as hard. That's how powerful your mind is, and how much it can help you out with these things.
Totally. I've been doing something for 9 years, I think it is, but I've been doing this thing, and it's just a grateful list, and I'm sure people have heard about this. But what I do is every morning when I wake up, I put on my social media 3 things that I'm grateful for that happened in the previous 24 hours.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that's helped me do is it's helped me keep things in perspective. And when I started to realize that, the whole don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. It's all small stuff. But appreciating the small things helps the bigger things be bigger.
You know I know you're a musician and you're really into music, and I heard a quote once from John Lennon. I think about it all the time. And I know he was a musician and a songwriter, so he wasn't, somebody I should listen to this quote and it sticks with me, but it did.
Nobody told me it'd be days like this.
Yeah. But he said once, in the end, everything's going to be okay. If it's not okay, it's not the end. So I always think that. I always think about that. Like, right now, things are really, really hard, but it's not the end. It can get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so I always like that. But you know what else? I had my little grandson over. He's 9 years old. And we're up here in the mountains, and there's a lot of nice trails here to run. And he was 9, but he spent a lot of time on a computer and his phone and things like that. And I said, Sawyer, I can't wait to spend a whole week with you up here, up in the mountains. He said, yeah, my mom and dad told me I might not be able to spend much time on my computer or my phone or my laptop or anything.
Yeah.
I said, well, you can. Your mother gave me 8 pages of homework she wants us to do. So I'll make a deal with you. You can go on your laptop, your computer, anytime you want, but before you do, we'll do a page of homework. How's that sound? He loved the idea. So I told him, I said, for many, many years, people have asked me, what do I do to become a SEAL? What do I do to become a Ranger or a Marine? What do I do to climb some mountain? Tough physical things. What do I do to prepare myself for it? And I'd always ramble on and on and on, try to come up with some reason, I could come up with for a training plan. But it really boils down to just 4 things. And I wish I knew this when I was a young guy. But all you have to do is 4 things every day. And you wake up every morning and you ask yourself, what you're grateful for. But the 4 things you have to do each and every day. Every day, get up and do something that makes you stronger, physically stronger. That might be, if you did 50 push-ups the day before, do 60 today. If you go to CrossFit again and do a little bit more. If you do a workout in your own home, just do something to make yourself stronger.
Right.
And people aren't going to hand you that workout on a silver platter. You have to figure out what that is. And there's lots of ways to make yourself stronger, number 1. Number 2, every day do something to make yourself faster. If your sport or career involves running, start doing speed work, fartleks, track work, but get faster. If you can do 50 sit-ups in 2 minutes, do 55 in 2 minutes. But just do something to make yourself faster. So number 1, get stronger every day. Number 2, get faster every day. And then number 3 is probably even more important. Every day do something to make yourself smarter. So if you do want to go in the SEAL community, learn what happened in Korea, in World War II, back in Vietnam era. Learn what the underwater demolition team guys and the SEALs were doing back in those early years. Understand what they were doing. Learn how to shoot. Learn how to dive. Learn how to skydive. Okay? Just get smarter in whatever career field you choose to go in. Get smarter each and every day. It's easy to do that. It's reading. It's doing research. Every day, do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 4, to me, it's the most important. Just every day, do something good for somebody. Help the lady across the street empty her trash. Help your neighbor do whatever they're doing in the lawn. Help your brother or your sister clean up their room. Help your teacher put the chairs back where they're supposed to be. Whatever it is, but just in your heart, you know you did something good for somebody. Because if you start this, Sawyer, and I'm talking to my little grandson now, if you did this when you were 9 years old and you start this right now, you're going to get stronger every day, you'll get faster every day, you'll get smarter every day, and you're going to be such a good person, the person everybody's going to want on their team. And when you go to selection, or you go to buds, or you go to try out for college sports or high school sports, you just might be the strongest and fastest person there, and the one who knows most about what you're doing, and the one everyone wants on the team because you're used to doing good things for people.
Right.
And that's what I still try to do now in my 60s, is every day I try to get stronger. Every day I try to get faster. Every day I try to get smarter. And every day I try to do something good for somebody. And I wish I thought about that 50 years ago. It took me a while to figure it out.
Right.
But to me, that's the advice I follow and the advice I love to give to young folks.
Yeah, that's great. That's solid stuff. That is absolutely solid stuff.
He took it to heart. I mean, we did the first day, he said, well, what are we going to do to get stronger? I said, well, I lift weights every morning. We'll lift weights together.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in my garage, I have a weight room set up. Every day he did that with me. Well, what are we going to do to get faster? I said, well, I've got some trails out here we're going to run. Today we're going to run a steep 3-miler, but it's a hard one. And I'm going to time you. Mm-hmm. And the first 3/4 of a mile was really straight up. And he was doing 20-minute miles, which isn't bad for that terrain. You know?
Oh my God, sure.
So for 3 miles, it took an hour. And that was great. I mean, I was really proud of him. The next day, we did an easier trail. It was 4 miles. We did a little less than 20-minute miles. I said, Sawyer, you got faster today. You got faster. You got stronger from the weight workout, and you just got faster on the trail run. The next day, we did a 5-miler, and he kind of collapsed. He was almost unconscious at the end. He's only 9. So I held him up and I put him in the back seat. And I promised him a scoop of ice cream for every workout. So every day he got 2 scoops of ice cream. So the 4th day, we went back to the 3-miler where he was doing 20-minute pace, 20 minutes per mile. I said, okay, Sawyer, now you have to go faster than we did the other day we did this. Mm-hmm. So you were doing 20 minutes per mile the first day we came out here. Now you've got to go faster. Ready? And I'm not going to stay with you. I'm going to run, and I'll come back and forth for you. I'll make sure you're okay. So we started off. We went for a run, and he was on my side, and we're about the 2-mile mark, and he was tired, but he was pushing himself, and he fell, and he got all bloodied up, his elbows and knees, and he cried. I lifted him up. I gave him a hug. I said, Sawyer, what's really, really good about what just happened, you're bleeding, and you're crying, but you're okay, and you're going to get up and you're going to finish and you're going to still be faster. And he gave me this blank stare like, are you crazy? But I put him down, we finished the run, and he beat his time. And it just proved to him that he can do a lot more than he thought he could. Wow. So at the end of the week, instead of doing 7 or 8 pages of homework, he did 24 pages of homework, did 2 workouts a day, and every day he got faster, stronger, and smarter. He said, but Papa, how would I help anybody today? I said, because I didn't know anything you're doing with this homework. He taught me this new math. You've taught me so much, so you've helped me every day.
That's awesome.
And now he's living that life now. And he tries to do that. He looks in the mirror, says, what am I going to do to get stronger, faster, and smarter? So that was very helpful for us both, just to have that time together and to share that with him.
Unbelievable. That's great. Now, you've been able to take all of your SEAL training and turn it into, obviously, some motivational speaking and some motivational books, right?
Yep, I was. And you know, it wasn't... What I believe, anyways, is any SEAL, anybody who's done something like similar to SEAL training, they didn't learn all they did in that community. Like, for instance, I didn't learn all this in SEALs. I had it in me to want to go through training and to make it through training to become a SEAL. So you have to have a bit of it in you already, you know, because you can't come through as a blank slate and all of a sudden they gave you this mindset like, I'm going to go through the toughest training in the world. You have to have some of that in you. And because before I was a SEAL, I was doing Ironman triathlons and things like that.
Oh my gosh.
But there was something that happened when I was a young boy in 7th grade where I knew my life was going to go in one or the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
My two passions are working out and training hard, and the other one is music. I realized back then, and I was lucky to realize this, that I don't have any talent at all, so music was going to be a hobby. I'll just listen to it. I won't try to play it. And I would devote my life to fitness. And so I asked my mother for a set of weights for Christmas, and I've never stopped training since 7th grade. And I knew I wanted adventure in life, and I wanted a wild life.
Mm-hmm.
And so the SEAL community offered all that. And, the people I hung out with, the people in my neighborhood, they didn't do that well in life. A lot of them ended up in jail, or they died early, or they went to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And because we all wanted a wild life, but if you get on that wrong track,
right,
it's you keep going down it, and it's hard to turn back.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
fortunate to get on the path of the SEAL team track, and it saved my life, I believe.
I used to think that I wanted to live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse.
Yeah.
None of those are happening. Not one.
I kind of feel the same way. I just want to have everything worn out before it's over. I don't want anything in
Right.
really good shape. I don't want to use everything I got until the end. Whatever that is, I don't know. But
I saw this financial planning book. The title was like "Run Out of Money and Life at the Same Time."
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you don't want
That's
to
wild.
outlive your money, or yeah.
Right.
But I really love the philosophy of being able to find ways to get more out of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and more out of your teammates or your workers or your family.
Yeah.
Because here's what happened to me. When I got out of the teams, I was very highly motivated. I was always around highly motivated people, and we got things done.
Mm-hmm.
And I got out, and I was thinking, my God, man, these people, they're not very ambitious. I'm not seeing many civilians who are go-getters like what I've been around for the last 21 years. I don't know what's going on here. And when I do my talks, I mention this, but I realize that you have to have the mindset and the ability to think real big, and then set big, far, high-reaching goals. Things most people they don't think you're capable of achieving them.
Right.
That's what I call a macro goal. And then set a series of micro goals, a ladder that gets you up to that macro goal. So for me, everything I've done in life, that philosophy has worked. I want to become a SEAL. Okay, what do I have to do? I have to learn to swim. I got to learn to run. I got to do a bunch of push-ups every day. I learned what I needed to do, micro steps all the way, micro goals accomplished all the way. Then you got to make it through BUD/S, and then you become a SEAL. Then my next macro goal in the military was I want to go to SEAL Team 6. And so now I did all the micro goal steps I set aside to how do I get to SEAL Team 6. As an athlete, I set a macro goal. I want to compete in over 1,000 endurance competitions.
Wow.
That goal I set way too low because the micro goals I set, I reached the macro goal in the 80s and I'm still competing.
Mm-hmm.
So that goal should have been set much, much higher. And for books, the Navy Times wrote to me once, and I wasn't a good student in school. I just didn't care about being inside or being in a classroom. I just loved being outdoors.
Yeah.
And I was called by the Navy Times once, and they said, would you write a story for the Navy Times about physical fitness on how to train? I said, oh boy, I've never written anything in my life. I don't know if I can do that.
Right.
So I made that the macro goal, write an article for Navy Times. And then they said, would you do another one? So I wrote a series of articles for Navy Times, Air Force Times, Marine Corps, and Army Times. And I was enjoying it. So then I made the next macro goal, okay, I'm going to write a book. And then the next macro goal, okay, I'll write a series of books. I'll write a series of fiction, nonfiction, how-to. I'm working on book number 23 right now. My English teacher would be rolling over in her grave if she even thought I read 23 books.
No kidding.
But it's not that hard. You set a macro goal and then just the micro goals. If you miss a micro goal, just adjust. Go left to right, but adjust, because you can't lose vision of that goal, that macro goal. You have to be focused on the mission. and it really, really works. And I'm making it sound simple, but it is a simple process.
Right.
It really is. And if you're a piano player, if you're a cook, it doesn't only have to work for SEALs. It can work for anybody,
For anything.
in any career.
Yeah.
And just to simplify it, and then to wake up every morning, what am I going to do to go toward that, to accomplish that macro goal? And just the micro goals, it's that simple. I talk to business people all over the country, military people, generals, admirals, billionaires, and they hear this and they said, that's right, that's all we have to do. Anybody will accept that.
Yeah.
I love a philosophy, or having a philosophy that works, and that when you share it with people, it's going to work for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's incredible. It's baby steps, right?
Yeah.
It's just like the movie What About Bob with Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray. It's baby steps.
Didn't catch that
You didn't
one.
see this
I
one?
didn't see
Oh,
that.
it's great. It's great. Bill Murray's got a lot of anxieties, and so Richard Dreyfuss is his therapist. He's like, you just have to take baby steps, like one little thing, right? It's the macro goals, or the micro goals.
Yeah. I
Micro
love
goals.
those guys, both of them together, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, it's good. You said you're in the SEALs for 21 years?
Yeah, I was went through BUDS, and then I went right to SEAL Team 1.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my macro goals for the teams were, we had only 2 SEAL teams then. We had SEAL Team 1 on the West Coast and SEAL Team 2 on the East Coast. And my macro goal was I wanted to serve both, but I knew there was a SEAL Team 6, although nobody talked about it back then.
Really?
Even the SEALs didn't know what SEAL Team 6 was doing. It was that secretive and that small and that quiet back then.
Yeah.
And so my 3 macro goals for the teams were serve at Team 1, Team 2, and Team 6. And those were the three teams I served.
That's wild.
But before that, I was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Waiting for orders to go to BUDS, and I was a medic with the Marines. So I enjoyed that a great deal as well.
That's cool. 23 books. You said a lot of them are the SEAL Team 6 books?
No. Actually, the very first one, I was very, very involved in a sport called adventure racing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was the hardest thing in the world because you're going 500 miles, 600 miles, non-stop, with all your food and medical gear in your backpack.
Yeah.
And you're in the Himalayas or some tough place in the world. You're with 4 or 5 people, and you're going basically 22 hours a day, sleep on the side of the trail, get up and keep moving, and you're paddling, biking, running, hiking, and climbing. And it was the toughest sport in the world, as far as I knew. And you pushed yourself to the point of hallucinating, passing out, bleeding. So when we were having lulls or dry periods in the teams, I would put in to leave, and I'd go do a 10 or 12-day adventure race someplace around the world. But then what happened when I got out of the Navy, I wanted adventure. I didn't have a plan to work. All I wanted to do was adventures. And so I started doing adventure races all over the world, and then people asked me how to do them, so I started teaching people how to do it, and I created a training academy to teach people how to do adventure racing, and then I started putting on races all over the world, these long races, and before I knew it, my whole life was consumed with adventure racing. I was working part-time for the U.S. government teaching shooting and tactics, so I had 2 lives going on, which took the place of SEAL team. I had the adventure and the athletic part, and I had the shooting and the tactical part, just like in the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
So everything was great. I loved it all. But I had a politician come up to me. His name was Quinton Kidd, a Virginia politician. He said, Don, you're running this Odyssey Adventure Racing Academy. It's the only adventure racing academy in the world. You started it. You're putting on races all over the world. And you're competing at the highest level. Why don't you write a book on adventure racing? I said, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to be in a building. He said, you got to write a book. I said, I don't want to write a book. So anyways, we can go straight.
We can keep
here.
going? Okay.
I said, I'll tell you what, I'll tape it. I'll put it on tape. And he said, well, if you do that, I'll get it typed up from a Chicago Sun-Times writer named Carl Shard. So that's what I did. And then that book was the first book on adventure racing. And that was the first book. And I had to make that the macro goal. Okay, I'm going to write this book, how I'm going to do it. And then, so then I wrote my boss in the government, his name was Jimmy. He said, Don, man, you got all this shooting material. You've got weapons, you know, all types of weapons and knives, and we could turn around here.
Okay.
But you have so much shooting material, why don't you write a book? I said, Jimmy, I don't want to write another book. He said, you got to write a book. You got so much gear here. I said, I don't want to. So we should be able to probably go through and turn around.
Go through and do a turn. All right.
Yeah. And I said, okay, Jimmy, I'll write a book. And if this is wide open, we could keep going, actually. I'm sorry. We could just, if there's not a toll here or anything, we could just keep going.
Let's keep going.
So I put all my stuff into chapters. I submitted it. And the publisher said, yeah, we'll publish this in a heartbeat. But you have way too much information. If you get rid of 2/3 of it, we'll publish it. So I got rid of the long gun and the shotgun and just kept the pistol and actually wrote The Modern Day Gunslinger with just the pistol shooting. That's how this book came about.
That's a pretty thick book, by the way.
Yeah, and that's just pistol.
Unbelievable.
So I got rid of all the other stuff.
Jeez.
And then I was a training officer at SEAL Team 6, the advanced training officer. And we were looking for bin Laden. Everybody was looking for bin Laden. Then I got out, went for the government, where we were still looking for bin Laden. But right after I got out, they were getting closer and closer. And boom, they got him. They got a track on him, and Rob O'Neill was the guy who shot him. I was with Rob when he came out and told the world it was him.
Wow.
But I was a training officer for the team when I left, and I was asked, because I've written a couple books, and it was out there that I was retired SEAL Team 6 guy, and they said, would you write a book on how you train people to go after bin Laden? I said, I didn't train people to go after bin Laden. I trained SEALs, and a lot of those guys were on the mission to get bin Laden, but I didn't train them for that specific mission.
Right.
And plus, the things we train and the way we train, I can't talk about it. I mean, I have a security clearance. I'm not jeopardizing that. They said, Don, a lot of people are talking. A lot of people are making big money. I'm offering you 6 digits now if you'll write this book and tell us how you train people there. I said, I don't have an option. The answer is no. I don't really have the ability to say yes. I have a security clearance.
There's only one way I can tell you, and it's if I kill you afterwards.
So they said, okay. And then the second publisher called. The third publisher who called said, yeah, we know what you're telling the others. How about this? Why don't you just give us your military bio and your athletic bio? Don't give us anything classified or anything you think is sensitive, and we'll still give you the 6 digits. I said, to tell you the truth, that would be a very, very boring book, because anything you want to know, I can't talk about. And my athletic career, yeah, I've done some things, but so have other people. You know, it's not going to be that exciting. They said, yeah, we knew you'd say that. Here's 6 digits if you'll do it. So I did it. I did it the right way. I sent it out to Publication Review Board, which gets reviewed by the SEAL brass and the CIA brass. And they said, yep, no problem. You publish this one. So I just did it that way, and that ended up being a New York Times bestseller. And
which book was it?
Inside SEAL Team 6.
Inside SEAL
which
Team
was
6.
a good. I'm glad you asked me that, because the cover, the title of that book, they said, Don, you have any ideas for a title? I gave them like 8 ideas. And I said, well, we don't like any of those ideas. What about Inside SEAL Team 6? I said, no. I don't want anybody to think I'm giving secrets away.
Right.
It's not about Inside SEAL Team 6. They said, yeah, but that's not how the publishing world works.
Right.
We could call it that. You know, it's been cleared through Publication Review Board, the Navy and the CIA. We'd like to call it that. It took me a while to digest and to think, do I want that to be called that? Because I still don't like the title of it, because it really is not what the book's about.
Right.
But that is the title of it, and it is a New York Times bestseller. And then I had this thought about Forrest Gump. My mother had just passed away, and she and I both loved one movie together. We loved that movie, Forrest Gump. And I started thinking, it was a fictional character, but he gave us a history lesson. Johnson and Watergate and Nixon, the ping pong. His girlfriend Jenny died of the virus, which was later called AIDS. And he gave us like probably a 20-year history lesson. I was thinking, if I was really a good writer, I could probably do the same thing. You'd take a SEAL or a CIA guy and make a history lesson out of a fictional character. And instead of going backwards in time on what did happen, why don't we go forward? Here's what's going on in Colombia. Let's make some fictional ops that's taking place in Colombia, and El Salvador, and Nicaragua, and Russia, and China, and North Korea. So I knew I had a good idea, but I knew I wasn't a talented enough writer to put this together.
Yeah.
So I called, his name is Thomas Sawyer, believe it or not, like Tom Sawyer, but he was the writer and creator for Murder, She Wrote, the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
And I called him and I said, I got this great idea, but I can't do it alone. I need some real good, talented help, like you. And he said, Don, I love the idea, but I'm so tied up with this TV show I'm working on right now. I have a really good friend, his name's Ralph Pizzulu, and this guy is better than I am at this.
Yeah.
So I called Ralph, who was working for Oliver Stone at the time, and he was living in Hollywood, and I told Ralph about this idea, and Ralph says, man, Don, I love that idea. This was a Wednesday. He says, do you mind if I come up for the weekend? So he flew across from Hollywood to my home here in Virginia. We talked about it, and we wrote a fictional book, and we called it Hunt the Wolf, and the publisher loved it. They said, we have another one. We have another one. They asked for 8 of them. So we made a fictional series, but based on reality.
Wow.
Because of the Forrest Gump model. And then the
pretty cool.
publisher said, we would like another book series.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, okay, we can do another book series. So I had to create a new bad guy and a new good guy. So the first series, you have SEALs. And then a lot of those SEALs get selected to go to SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
That's all true. So what I did in the Hunt the Wolf series is I made the good guys a little cell from SEAL Team 6 called Black Cell. They were the good guys. And then the bad guys were either the Falcon, the Dragon, the Wolf, whatever, the Scorpion. Every book had a different bad guy depending on where in the world he was. So now I needed this new series. I needed a stronger good guy and a stronger bad guy. So instead of just picking SEALs, I picked 1 or 2 people from Spetsnaz, from IDF, from other great units, Germany, and men and women from different places around the world who have great counter-terrorist teams. And we made a cell of, counter-terrorist personnel, combatants from around the world.
Yeah.
So we had a really strong team because, I'll say SEAL Team 6 is great, and a lot of people say that, but there's other people who are better at certain things. The Germans are better at jumping than we ever were for hay-hos, and the French were way better at the dives than we were. So there are really elements of other spec forces that are better than we were, because if you're jack of all trades, you have to have a specialty.
Right.
So I got the specialist of all these countries. And then the bad guy was kind of Al-Qaeda, ISIS on steroids, because they had a really, really good intel component to them. And so we had a really powerful bad guy and a really powerful good guy. And we wrote the first one, and the publisher loved it. And the bad news is, he retired. The publisher took his place, said, we can't do any more of these books because they're not woke enough.
Oh, no.
So we could turn here if you
Yeah,
like.
that's what I'm thinking.
And so we got stopped in our tracks. And my buddy Ralph Pizzulu, we've done a bunch of books together. He also went to New York with some great book concepts. And he was said, nope, sorry, Ralph, but we were told we can't publish books now unless they're woke books.
Unbelievable.
It is. It's pretty, yeah.
That is ridiculous.
I know that's got to turn around because you go woke, you go broke, and it doesn't make any sense at all, but it's turning around, I think.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah. So it's been a nice journey, though, and I never did it full-time. It's just a hobby. But just same thing, macro goal, write a book.
Right.
Micro goal, do the research, write a chapter, set up the format, write the book, send it to a publisher.
Have them check it out.
Re-edit, it gets published. Now the next one is, okay, let's write a series. And it just works.
When you're writing, I mean, you're a very well-disciplined man. When you're writing, do you sit down? Do you know who Stephen Pressfield is?
Oh yeah, sure.
All right. So in the War of Art, he says that
Yeah.
someone asked him, or maybe I think he asked someone else, but he mentioned this in the War of Art. He says, He asked someone else if he writes when he's inspired, and he says, yes, I write when I'm inspired. Fortunately, I'm inspired every day from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon. Do you write that way? Because this is a lot of writing.
I do believe what he said is true in the point that you do have your most energy or inspiration at certain times. And mine's the same way. Mine is probably 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then I switch, and then I want to be outside working out.
Yeah.
So that is my most enlightening
productive
time, I guess. But
Gotcha.
you know what I like to do is, Ralph actually helped me with this concept. He says, think of the ending point, and now think of the beginning point, and now put 6 or 7 places in between, and those will be your chapters. And whenever you get a thought, just fill in that chapter a little bit. Start filling in the chapter. You'll say, oh yeah, I have a good idea. This guy climbs over this mountain and rescues this hostage. Okay, put that in this chapter. And then once you get a bunch of information in the various chapters that are going to be chapters someday, then start fine-tuning it and honing it. Start fine-tuning and honing where the ending is going to be. And it really simplifies the process of writing. And I do enjoy writing. I don't give myself really much credit at all, because I've worked with people who are much better writers than I am.
Right.
But I enjoy writing, and I think if you're very passionate about something, you really want to make something right, write it, and then send it to an editor. And so we all have thoughts, and we all have things we can write about. And it's just, if you want to do it, there's really no reason we should be stopped in doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it. That's awesome.
Actually, The Art of War, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, I've done a lot of forwards, probably about 40 or 50 forwards for other people's books. And really, that's when I read, is when I read other people's books. And I really get into it, and I write a forward for it, or a nice review. But the greatest honor I ever had, and of course there's various editions, is I did about a 7-page forward for The Art of War once. And you know, of course, that's the Bible for shooters and for warriors and for business people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the TV show Surviving Man. You were telling me before that you've done like a number of TV shows, but
yeah, you know, so and it's strange again, because I don't really watch TV, and I don't really like TV that much. You know, I watched world historians, and I listen to certain people on YouTube that mainly right now I'm pretty much glued to what's going on in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, and the Gaza Strip is where I'm focusing on now.
Yeah.
But that's really the only time my TV comes on. But a friend of mine, he asked me, he said, Don, I mean, you're shooting, you're diving, you're jumping, you're training people. I want to do a TV show with you in it someday. I said, yeah, okay, Bob. I didn't think it would ever happen.
Right.
Know? He did this for years. I said, yeah, Bob, we'll do it. And about, let me see, I guess 4 years ago, he said, Don, I have a big sponsor, and we're going to do a TV show, and it's going to be called Surviving Man, my last name. And we're going to have all these people. Actually, the first year, we had 500, 600 people apply to be on Surviving Man, and they had a selection process, how they picked the people.
Yeah.
I think it was 32 people the first year. And then he wanted me to train him for a whole week, and then them compete against me and everything I trained him in.
Oh,
I said, Bob.
All right, first of all, I'm going to say this. I binge listened to season 2.
Yeah.
And legit, I'm like 15 minutes from your house, and I had to find, I finished episode 9, and then I had episode 10 to watch, and I had a hard time finding season 2 on YouTube, but I found it, and then I'm 10 minutes away from your house. And I'm like, I don't even know how it finishes. So, okay, so you ruined it for me. Spoiler alert.
Well, Surviving Man 1, he wanted me to compete against the champion of Surviving Man. I said, Bob, that'll be a very short TV show, because I will get smoked. I mean, we're training 20, 30-year-old people, studs, you know, some of the top shooters in the country.
Yeah.
And, you know, Dr. Jen, who's on the show quite often, she won the American Ninja. You know, there were some tough people on the show.
Yeah.
Even in my prime, I would have had a hard time competing against the top people here. But I appreciate your confidence in me, but it can't happen. He said, no, Don, You're being too confident. I said, Bob, I'm in my 60s. There's no way. So I turned it around.
Yeah.
When I landed, I came in by helicopter. I saw 32 people. I said, you guys and ladies all think you're here for some reality TV show called Surviving Man. You're going to do this competition. Well, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we needed some tough, solid Americans with a great mindset who have shooting skills, shooting abilities, and you're in great shape. Mm-hmm. We needed you here because the truth of the story is there's a man who's in captivity right now, and he's going to be killed at the end of the week. He used to provide us with intel, our country with intel, but then he started providing the enemy with intel, and they're going to kill him. But he's got a lot of information we need. Mm-hmm. And the U.S. government, U.S. military wants nothing to do with this guy. But we need you to do a reconnaissance, and we need you to go in there, and if it's feasible, at the end of the week, if he's still there, there's a chance you'll be the hostage rescue team. And the only reason we said this is a reality TV show and we said you're going to do this competition is to get the right people here in this fictitious country.
Right.
And that's how Surviving Man rolled out.
Gotcha.
But,
Gotcha.
Surviving Man 1, we did. Surviving Man, we did that out at Front Sight, outside of Vegas. Surviving Man 2, we did outside of in Georgia, outside of a range in Georgia. And then we did the All-Star events where top Surviving Man competitors go against these influencers. And then I ramp up the training for these guys.
Yeah.
And then we just did Surviving Man 2 All-Stars in Belize on a dive boat. And I had these people diving 140 feet with sharks and
holy moly,
putting nets on fishing boats to entangle the fishing boats so they can't move.
Oh
and then diving up in the middle of the night to take the chemicals off the boat because they were going to make chemical warfare was the mission. Mm-hmm. And so it's really being ramped up. But you said it earlier. It's pretty much my experience, my life has been SEAL, adventure racing, obstacle course racing, and teaching and going through survival training. So what I'm trying to do with Surviving Man is put those components in there. SEAL training, SEAL philosophy, obstacle course racing, adventure racing. Of course, the SEAL stuff includes all the shooting.
Right.
And then survival and survival, evasion, resistance, escape, SEAR training. So we try to incorporate them all. And I don't know any other event like it. It's really, really difficult, and it challenges everybody. Mm-hmm. And every single person we've come through has done really, really well. The only time people don't finish is if they get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened to somebody, right? Somebody thought they tore their meniscus, but they ended up breaking their
Yeah, it happened twice, actually. It happened, Surviving Man 1, we lost a gentleman, knee injury. And Surviving Man 2, we had another knee injury.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
And it's going to happen. But, it's the same thing we face in the SEAL training. If you push people hard, eventually someone's going to get hurt.
Sure.
The only way to do it so people don't get hurt is make training really easy. Mm-hmm. But then you go to war and you're going to get slaughtered.
Right.
So
defeats the purpose of training.
What I do when I train people, I bring it right to the point where I don't want to hurt anybody, but if we go too much more, it's going to be damage on people.
Yeah.
And actually, that brings me to something I should have added in earlier.
Well, hold on. Before you get to that, I'm hearing you talk about doing all these physical training, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, when you watch I don't have military reference, right, other than watching movies, but when you see someone like Arlie Ermy barking all these directions at people, but he goes out there and he does the run with all the guys in the military movies he's been in. I'm thinking to myself, at one point you had people in like a planking position for 5 minutes at a minimum,
collapse,
right? Yeah. At a minimum, and I'm like, can he do those?
Actually, we went to beyond 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. Wow.
So that's good you asked that, because SEAL training is different than a lot of other military training. Mm-hmm. The instructor often is doing the exercises with the people.
Right.
So if an instructor says drop down, he's doing the push-ups with the people. He's
Yeah.
doing the sit-ups with the people.
Mm-hmm.
So I do some of that with Surviving Man, but I push them so much further than I can
Then you
do
can do
right
it
at this
right.
point. And really, the 20-minute planks, there's only a couple people in the participant field that can do that. What I have them do, it's brutal. I start out every morning, you're facing each other, you're in a circle, and I say, get in the plank position.
Mm-hmm.
Stay there till you drop. So there's not a time limit, and nobody wants to be seen dropping.
Nobody wants to be first, right?
And then when you drop, you don't get any points. If you're the next one to drop, you get 1 point. If you're the next one to drop, you get 2 points.
Right.
And then it boils down to 3 or 4 people. Then I say, okay, 3-point plank, lift one leg off the ground. So now they're on a tripod at 15, 16 minutes. And then they keep going. It's okay, 2-point plank. One arm, one leg. And they're doing this so their core is getting the workout, the arm, the leg, it's all that's holding them up. And then finally, about the 20-minute mark, there's one person, and I do that in the leaning rest too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can tell you this because, well, I can't let this out until after the next show happens.
Right. Now you said you're filming another season.
Yeah, we're
soon.
going down to Tampa next week, and it'll be season 3.
Gotcha.
And I already have, of course, the training figured out, but it's going to make the other training seem pretty simple. It's going to be brutal. It's even, I can't stop smiling when I talk about it to
That's awesome.
people who are in the show. You know, the people in the director producer side.
Yeah.
But it's going to be brutal. It's going to be
Very
brutal.
cool.
And there's a mission involved with it, and it's a mission that'll be in everybody's heart where they want to do really, really well in that mission.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a lot of shooting in it, and tactics and training, and we have a lot of great sponsors like we always do, and we highlight their gear in the show. So,
Very cool.
It's really a lot of fun. It's
awesome.
really a lot of fun doing it. But I am doing, so those 2 shows, one Surviving Man All-Stars, but the other show I just started, I just did episode 1, season 1, a couple of months ago, and what that is, it's called The Mission. And I've done this with bankers a number of times. And the mission is, if somebody has a real passion for something, it could be to prevent animal cruelty, it could be for homelessness, and it could be for people who need wheelchairs or ramps for wheelchairs, access to buildings and homes, and it could be veterans with PTSD. But if you have a real passion, your heart is driven to help a group of people that need your help, is what I call our mission commanders. So I have a number of mission commanders. They came over to my place. We filmed at my place. And these mission commanders told me they were chosen because of their passion for these causes that they have. Mm-hmm. I prepare a mission template for them, show them how to do a SEAL-like mission. And their objective is to build a team, to raise great awareness and raise funds and promote this cause, not necessarily a single charity, but this cause, and how you're going to make a significant impact on how you're going to help these people. So that's the new show called The Mission. And the show's being picked up by Gravitas and Pursuit TV, and I think now they're in 750 million homes in North America.
Wow.
They're really doing well. And The Mission, you know, to me, I am so excited about that because that's people helping people. Kind of like Get Stronger, Faster, and Smarter. This is doing something good for people. And that's what The Mission's all about. And that's the 3rd TV show. And I'm also just started recently. I was asked to be a movie consultant for a movie called American Smuggler. And that's the capture of El Chapo that was done by DEA, SEAL teams, and Delta Force.
Wow.
So I'm the movie consultant, executive producer for that, and that's just in the beginning. So I'm very excited about that too. And it's so strange because I don't watch TV or many movies, but it's really fun.
That's
it's fun.
unbelievable. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
You're an unbelievably busy man.
You know, it doesn't feel busy though because you know, now we're driving around having fun talking. It's, you know, I'm not missing work or anything.
Right.
I feel like there's finally in my life a balance where I'm just not always off doing some project. It's just everything's kind of smaller and part-time and just things I enjoy.
That's the way it ought to be.
Yeah.
That's the way it ought to be, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't always this way. I was super obsessed about something and wouldn't sleep and just driven for about 30 years, and now I like this better, you know.
Sure.
You know, what I was talking about, the adventure racing, how it's so difficult because you really push yourself to the point of hallucinating, bleeding, or passing out quite often, you know.
Right.
And I've done that so many times, passing out, hallucinating, bleeding from every orifice is what I used to say to myself. Blood from any orifice, or you're not pushing yourself hard enough. and that's how I trained myself. That's how I trained others. And I've learned recently, probably the last 8-9 years, that I was wrong in pushing myself that hard. I almost died on Everest a couple years ago. I was on Mount Everest, and that philosophy can hurt you. Because if you push yourself too hard, too often, something's going to break down. Mm-hmm. And in my case, my lungs filled with fluid on Everest, and my brain cavity filled with fluid. Wow. And I was that close to dying. And it's happened a number of times.
How high did you get up on Everest?
I was just above the ice fields, which is the most dangerous part on Everest, which is under 22,000 feet. But when you get HAPE and HACE, high altitude pulmonary edema or cerebral edema, it comes unexpected. Nobody knows when it's going to happen or who it's going to happen to. Mm-hmm. Your lung cavity's filled with fluid and your brain cavity fills with fluid.
Wow.
But what I wanted to say is that if you do have that mentality of push, mm-hmm. no matter what, kind of like I was saying I used to do, and I'd just be driven no matter what, I was going to get something done, mm-hmm. Things break down. You know, you could ask my ex-wife. That's plural. I mean, if you give everything to a project, like being a SEAL, your family life, who sees you maybe 60 days a year, and you don't want to be home because you want to be with the guys, it's not going to be a good marriage.
Sure.
And if you running 100 miles a week, your body starts breaking down. Mm-hmm. If you give too much, too hard for too long, something's going to break down. A relationship, your body, or something will break down. So I always felt if I didn't go over the line of overdoing it, I was leaving something at home and something I should be pushing harder. Mm-hmm. And if my teammates weren't at least giving it their all and bleeding, passing out, seeing the white stars, hallucinating, they weren't giving it their all. And that's how I trained a lot of people who became SEALs, how I trained a lot of SEALs, mm-hmm. and how I trained a lot of people to climb mountain and do adventure racing. But now I'll say I was wrong, and there's a smarter way to do it. And that is, you still have to identify the line of overdoing something, mm-hmm. no matter what it is, sport, hobby, career. If you give too much to something, you're overdoing it and something else is going to take a hit.
Sure.
In my case, it's been my health a number of times. But why not do it this way? It makes so much more sense. Still identify where that line is of overdoing it. Yeah. Don't go over it. Just come up, touch it, and back off. Come back, touch it, back off. Don't lose sight of that vision, of that mission, of mission success, or that macro goal. Mm-hmm. But don't ruin relationships or ruin your health or anything like that. You know, I'm 185 pounds, and when I was training for triathlons, I did 2 Ironmans in one day, and I passed out at mile 32 on the run. And I saw the white spots. I started hallucinating a bit, and I passed out, and I started spitting up bile. And when I woke up, I was on the side of the lawn, and other cyclists were riding by, and other runners. I did 1 Ironman, and now I'm on my 2nd Ironman, and I was on the run at mile 32. I had less than a half a marathon to go, basically, or a little over a half marathon to go. But I was laying there, and I woke up, and I saw these other people running and biking by, and I was wondering why I was outside sleeping. Then I realized I was doing a double Ironman. I got up and finished a double Ironman. I got the medal. And at that point, I realized, you know, all those times in my life, I thought something was too hard, too challenging. Yeah. I was wrong, because if it was too challenging, I would have passed out, simply got the break I needed, and could have got up and finished on. And So when you go over that line, something is going to break down.
Yeah.
If you just touch the line and back off, you can come back stronger.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, we need to, some of the camera batteries are about to die, so we got to kind of wrap things up a little bit.
Yep, and this is good timing because we're going to get to the
almost-
point where we're going to go left.
All right, and get back to civilization.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, cool. How can people find you and all of the stuff that you're doing? How can they find all your shows, find your books, find all your goodies?
Well, if you Google my name, Don Mann, MANN.com, it's on Google, and it's usfrogman with 2 N's.com is my website.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where it's probably the best place, my
That's
website or something.
All right, very cool. Yeah. We are, you know what we're gonna do? I gotta. All right. So people can find that. We'll put some links below, so that people don't have to look too far. I just want to wrap things up before this guy dies. We're going to do it here. All right, so we'll put a link to, you said Frogman was the website?
It's www.usfrogman.com.
USFrogman.
Yeah.
All right, very cool.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to that. Thank you so much for being on the show. This was my pleasure. One of the things that I appreciate is expanding my circle of friends.
Yeah.
And I can't wait when season 3 comes out of Surviving Man. I want to have you on I do another show with a friend of mine. And we're going to have you on that, and we're going to talk about and promote that.
We'd love to have you come out to the show one of these days. One of the shows, one of the all-star shows.
That would be really cool.
Would love to have you out there with us.
I will get my ass kicked.
Oh, well, you could be doing interviews of people.
Oh, there we go.
You want to do.
That I could handle.
We could have you in the mission, and we can rescue you, or something.
I need it. All right. Well, listen. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching the show. Thank you for being on.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure was mine, sir. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you can join them at saf.org. As I said, we're going to have the links to Don Mann's website and all of his info below. If you are not a member of the SAF, I mentioned that, you can find all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.us. That's the Self-Defense Radio Network. And if you made it this far in the show, then you need to be sharing it with your friends, because that is how we get the stagecoach across America. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.